That is crazy, the fact that we're going to see potentially Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, two of those three held out in favor of Iowa or maybe Wisconsin if something crazy happens. But that's what divisions do for you, man. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football back at it again. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You'll not be disappointed. Also, the like button too, and follow on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, we are ho-humming. We are over halfway done with this, one of the best college football seasons we have had in some time. But I want to make sure we take our attention to, I'll say, the second biggest conference in college football right now. And again, maybe not this season. Right now, the number one conference in college football this season is the Pac-12. I don't care what you say. Oh, Georgia's still undefeated. Yes, they are. But at the same time, from top to bottom, I take the Pac-12 over the SEC this season. Going forward, obviously, we know they're going to fall apart. But whatever. What I'm trying to say is right now, that's where it's at. The SEC is still the top dog. I do think that the transfer portal has kind of hit a little of that bit of that dominance that they would have had in previous seasons going forward. So in the next 10 years, instead of winning 70% of the championships, they might only win 50. Again, still going to be winning a lot. But I think that the Big Ten is in an interesting spot right now because the Big Ten is one of the last few conferences. And again, this is something that's going to be going away in the future iterations of college football. We're seeing the SEC go away. We're seeing the Big Ten. We've already seen it in the Pac-12. It's something called divisions. So in previous years, when you get a big collection of conference teams, and again, for the most part, people would play 8 conference games. Sometimes they would play 9. When the Pac-12 had 10 teams, they're going to be having, a round robin tournament. That's what they were planning on doing. The Big 12 did the same thing when they had 12, but they had 10 teams, so they just had 9 games, and then they played a conference championship. Previously, what you would do is you would have a North and a South, an East and a West, a Division A and a Division B, whatever it was. Cut those teams in half to make sure you have certain teams you play every single year, and then you alternate on those other teams every other year. But now, because they are eliminating these divisions, there's a couple interesting things that we're going to have this last season before we have the CFP next year and elimination of the Big Ten divisions. The first thing I want to make sure I bring up is the fact that the top of the Big Ten East is in a really interesting spot because if you're able to split 2 games out of 2 games this season and you're in the Big Ten East, you got a realistic opportunity to get into the CFP even at 4 teams. Going forward, you're probably going to be in for sure. And I'm telling you, those 3 teams are Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. So the very first game of this 3-game gauntlet. And thinking about this is the crazy thing when you think about this. For the rest of the season, in the entire Big Ten East, Big Ten West, there are 3 ranked matchups the rest of the way. All the other ranked teams don't play each other. The only ones that do are Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Those 3, the round robin between those 3 games, are the last 3 ranked matchups for this conference. So we see big noon kickoff this upcoming Saturday. We got the Penn State Nittany Lions. We got Drew Allar visiting Kyle McCord. This is going to be such a great matchup. I think they're saying heavily, again, the right now the line on this game is 4 for Ohio State, over under 46.5. They're expecting a defensive game. We're going to see a lot of dudes that are going to be in the NFL in this game going forward. So right now, this is the first one. We also have Penn State versus Michigan, and then Ohio State visiting Penn State later on this season. I'm telling you, those 3 games are going to thoroughly decide this conference. And we check this out. This is a really interesting thing here because, like I said before, there's 4 ranked teams. We got Iowa over here in the Big Ten West, and we have number 2 Michigan, number 3 Ohio State, and number 7 Penn State. Like you can see, there's a definite power discrepancy between the Big Ten East and the Big Ten West. If you come down here and check this out, the Big Ten West currently, over halfway done with the season, only 2 teams have a winning record. The rest of them are at or below 500. Wisconsin is 2-1 in conference play with their only loss to Iowa, and Iowa is 3-1 in conference when they're only lost to Penn State 31-0. So you can see that even the top of the Big Ten West still is not necessarily as good as the top of the Big Ten East, not even close. But it is bring up a very interesting perspective here. I said this before. Because of the divisions, the winner of the Big Ten East and the winner of the Big Ten West automatically go to the conference championship. It's not, you can't get the top 2 teams. Like in the Pac-12 right now, the top 2 teams, they both go. So as an example, Oregon and Washington, they just played. Washington won. Oregon still has a chance to play them in Las Vegas. If they win out, Washington wins out, and they're the top 2 teams. They still have that opportunity. However, for Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, whoever goes 2-0 out of those 3 games, they're going to be going, and they're going to be the one that's going to be representing the Big Ten East in the conference championship. The interesting thing is that the other one, let's just say you split those games. Penn State, they beat Ohio State and lose to Michigan. They lose to Ohio State, they beat Michigan, whatever it is. They end up at 11-1. They have a realistic shot at the CFP with that perspective. But also, checking this out, Iowa Hawkeyes, they do not play Michigan or Ohio State this season. They are 3-1 right now. They are 6-1. They have 5 games left, and they already have the tiebreaker with Wisconsin. They're in a very good spot to win the conference. It is my argument that this is the last year that Iowa, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Minnesota, Purdue, and Illinois, maybe Nebraska, maybe Nebraska in the future, have a shot at winning this league at all anyway. With the addition of Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, it's only going to get harder. They no longer have this distinction of all you got to do is win one game. Or think about that. The Iowa Hawkeyes, all they got to do is get through their schedule, and they get to the conference championship. All they got to do is for 60 minutes outclass one of these top 3 teams, and they're the champion. Now, I'm not going to hold my breath that Iowa, minus Cade McNamara, is going to be in a spot where they're going to be, capable of winning that game. I would not put my money on that, anything like that. But home against Minnesota versus Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, and they have one away game. They have a neutral site game later on against Northwestern, and they visit Nebraska. But beyond that, they look like they are the shoe-in, more than likely the odds-on favorite to get to the Big Ten championship game. That is crazy, the fact that we're going to see potentially Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, 2 of those 3 held out in favor of Iowa or maybe Wisconsin if something crazy happens. But that's what divisions do for you, man. Right now, and if you check this out, you're able to come up here and see these top 14 teams. So these aren't the top 14 teams, but these are the top 14 teams according to ESPN's CFP playoff predictor. So obviously, right now they have Oklahoma number 1. Oklahoma is 6-0. They've got a very easy schedule. They are more than likely going to get in. Now remember here, they are more than likely to get in their 69% there. They still have an opportunity to play Texas again, but if they play Texas again, it would be at a neutral site. And even if they lose that, remember last season, TCU was 12-1. They lost in their conference championship game, and they went to the CFP. Oklahoma might be able to do the same. We also have Ohio State. We also have Florida State, Washington, Penn State, Michigan, Georgia. Georgia only has a 30% chance of making it to the CFP. That's wild there. We have Texas at 5-1, Alabama at 5-1, who lost to Texas, Oregon, who lost to Washington. We have UNC. We have Ole Miss, who lost to Alabama. We have USC, who lost to Notre Dame. And then we have LSU, who has lost 2 games so far this season, 1 to Florida State. So thinking about that, that's where we're at. We see the fact that they've already written off USC. They've already written off Utah. Both of those teams have 1 loss. LSU has 2. But because of the fact that LSU is going to be playing potentially Georgia in a conference championship game, if they were to beat them, 11-2, LSU beating Georgia in the conference championship game, again, it's a possibility. Alabama has to lose some games later on. But that's where we're at, man. We are in a wild, wild open situation. We've got potentially Iowa has a chance at winning the Big Ten. We also have a chance at Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. Whichever one goes 11-1 still has an outside shot at the CFP, just like Ohio State did last season. In the final year of the Big Ten divisions, because they're not going to do something where it's going to be the West Coast teams. They might have an agreement where the West Coast teams play each other when Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA join the Big Ten. But because of that division distinction, whoever has 11-1 between Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, they still have a shot at the CFP. Ohio State did it last season. Michigan went there as a 13-0 team. We also have a chance here that Iowa, more than likely the champion of the Big Ten West, has an outside shot because of the fact that they get an automatic bid in the championship. They have a chance to win the Big Ten, potentially for the last time for a couple of years, again, with the addition of those West Coast teams. So these divisions in the Big Ten, they're going away, but we're seeing the last vestiges of them. We're seeing why it could benefit them and hurt some teams. Whatever it is, we are buckled up for a crazy end to the Big Ten season. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Get in the comments right now. What do you think about it? Again, I think I like Penn State. Ohio State, again, I keep on underestimating Ohio State, and they keep on proving me wrong. And Michigan is the consummate professional there. Iowa, all they got to do, if they make it to the conference championship game, they only got to be there for 60 minutes to win it. I don't know, man. You guys get in the comments right now. Tell me what you think is going to happen. But that's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.